All right, here we are once again, except it's a new year. I don't know about you, Larry Mastropieri, real estate broker and owner of the Mastropieri Group, but I don't feel any different right now. How are you feeling?
I feel tired.
You feel tired already? Man, just right out of the gate. For you might be recovered, but knowing you probably worked through the holiday. And actually, I mean, I do know you, and I know you did work through the holiday. So keeping things rolling. And obviously, it has been a very good time to live in Palm Beach County or Broward County or South Florida in general, as we are here once again to talk about Parkland, which for anyone who's unfamiliar, that's in the north end of Broward County. But before we get into all of that, Larry, I know you've talked about him a lot. Stephen M. Ross, owner of the Miami Dolphins. I believe he owns a Formula One team as well, but he's a mover and shaker when it comes to real estate on the East Coast and particularly in South Florida as of late. The Real Deal had a very good write-up on him talking about his recent developments in South Florida. What was your initial take looking at some of the stuff that, he's been working on lately?
It pumped me up a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for all of us, I would think.
Yeah, it was a good pump-up speech by Stephen M. Ross. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Overall, I mean, I took this and I shared it with the sales team here, and I said, guys, we're at the ground floor, right?
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously the article touched on a number of things, but for those who aren't familiar, Vanderbilt University, which is known by many as the Harvard of the South, a very prominent, has a very solid reputation as academic standard in higher education. It's not just a school in the SEC. Frankly, they're usually at the bottom in a number of sports because, like I said, they're carrying the GPA of the league. And they have a new campus that will be opening in the next few years in downtown West Palm Beach, which is very exciting. And Steve Ross was a driver of that. I mean, he was going on and on, gushing about how promising West Palm Beach is, or I should say Palm Beach County, to the overall influence of, prominence in the United States. I kid you not. At that meeting, the Palm Beach County, when they were discussing the plans for development, he went on record as saying Palm Beach County will become the most important county in this country. That's a bold statement, Larry.
That's some big talk, right? I mean, and that's I know we're talking about Parkland, which is in Broward County right now.
We'll get to it before, right? We're hitting the headlines first. Stick around.
But I mean, that's a positive statement for all of South Florida. Broward's right in between Miami and West Palm, and if Ross's statements comes anywhere close to true, I mean, that is huge. I mean, that's suggesting that we're going to rival Miami and in some ways, right? Obviously, Miami is a pretty big economic superpower down here in South Florida, but yeah, this is epic. And I mean, this guy he's not just saying it, right? He's investing behind it, which is maybe one of the reasons why he's given these big pump up speeches. But right. What does it say here? His portfolio includes 18 buildings and a mixed-use complex with over 3.8 million square feet of office, retail, and residential space in West Palm Beach. And some of those big projects are like, headline buildings, right? 360 Rosemary, 1 Flagler, 515 Fern. It's
City Place. Yeah, that was his thing.
That's the big one. Yeah, City Place. Everyone knows that. That's him. They've done so much there, and they continue to invest. And that's not the only billionaire that's hanging out with a bunch of developments in action in Palm Beach and Broward County right now. I mean, there's a number of them that are crazy investing, and more seem to keep coming every day, right?
Right.
So,
well, you got those mover and shakers like Ross, and you see him doing things down here. And like you mentioned, he's putting money behind those statements. So you see somebody like that, and you're like, all right, maybe I need to get in on this sort of thing. Even if you have a property and some interest in South Florida, as many wealthy people do, but not even down here, it's like, it's worth, having a stake in this because this guy, even at 80 years old, man, he is not letting up.
Well, that's impressive itself, right? They say most people at his age would, or even earlier, come down here to retire. He's on his second, third, fourth act, whatever that is at this point. You know what's interesting from this article? They mentioned the impact of wealth migration. The influx of wealthy residents during the pandemic brought $39 billion to Florida, reshaping Palm Beach County's demographic and increasing demand for luxury and commercial development. So it's things have changed since 5 years ago. Yeah.
And for the better. And obviously, and we've talked about this many times, the pandemic certainly was a catalyst for a lot of this growth because people were getting out of the crowded cities, coming down here, because it's like, if I'm going to be miserable and trapped at my house, at least let it be somewhere nice.
Exactly.
And it hasn't necessarily, kept everybody here forever. I know in the article, it kind of went in depth talking about how a lot of the people that are coming into the area, average household income is in the neighborhood of like 225,000 versus average income of people leaving in the neighborhood of 90,000. So, and we've seen this with some of the projects. Workforce housing is a huge priority because you got to have the workforce to keep things going. And they seem to really be committed to a lot of these developments. And more importantly, they have a plan for what they're doing. I think that seems to make the biggest difference, even if you're not familiar with everything that goes into some of these real estate developments.
And they have reps in at this. This isn't the first time he's doing this. These are real developers from real places. He's advocating for a $600 million hospital and workforce housing project, right? I mean, he's doing everything besides the high end stuff and hanging out on the Palm Beach Island. He's also in the mix redeveloping major downtown areas. This is incredible. I'm pumped up about it. I think it's positive. Like I said, it gave me a little bit of a tailwind here today, as I was tired from the holiday.
But you're like, I got to ask myself, what would Steve Ross do? Get it on a bracelet and be like, no, Steve Ross would keep going. And that's why we're here today.
That's it. They call him the world builder, right? What is this about? This is insane. Yeah. Ongoing role as the world builder. Yeah.
And, again, it's look it up if you're interested in reading the whole article. It's on therealdeal.com. They do a lot of good work with their real estate articles. I was reading about it, and they were very fair. They were showing, I don't think this guy's got a lot of warts, if you will, but they were kind of saying what drives this guy. And they're saying, oh, they all have huge egos as big as the skyscrapers they've built or whatever. And it's kind of like, hey, whatever it takes. But what I think I respect the most about a guy like Steve Ross, when you get to this point, you're building things knowing full well you may not be around to see them when they're finished, that you're trying, you kind of starting to get to that mindset of a legacy, and you incorporate that with your tremendous work ethic. And it looks like South Florida is going to reap the benefits of that, hopefully.
Amen.
Amen to that. So now that we got all the Stephen M. Ross talk out of the way, I feel like I have to say that all the time now. It's like so formal. Everybody else calls him Steve, and I'm, Stephen M. Ross. Anyway, so we have Parkland, Florida, which, if you're not familiar with the area from a more national perspective, obviously it kind of, was remembered for all the wrong reasons with the tragedy and the school shooting back in 2018. There's a lot of great things about Parkland, Florida. And I realized that when, a couple of years ago, I got back in touch with an old friend of mine, a reporter. We worked together in Northwest Arkansas many moons ago. And she and her husband, she has a family in Parkland. And I mean, they absolutely love the place. It is a area that really, I mean, when you look at it on a map and what's all there, if you're a fan of neighborhoods and suburbia, this is suburbia, like right here in South Florida. There's no monuments or anything, something that's really iconic about it. It's just, wow, just a lot of really nice places.
It's not even that old, right? It
looks very new. That's a good point.
It was built up starting in the 90s, really, is when things really started to take shape here. And now it's grown, and they've tried to preserve that park-esque feel about it, thus the name Parkland. And I think they've done a pretty good job about it. I mean, this place has been really developed, and it's and yes, to your point, John, it's a really nice area overall for sure. Yeah.
And for anyone who thinks, oh, there's nothing near it, I drove by it the other day because the Florida Panthers hockey arena, Amerant Arena, that is, which is in Sunrise. You get on Sawgrass Expressway, you go past Parkland, you go past Coral Springs. It's right there along the way. I know, I saw it.
But you know what's
if you're a big hockey fan, like there is stuff, right along, the easy access of Sawgrass. And it takes you like right along the edge there between what is the Everglades and the swamps and what is the suburban paradise.
What's interesting about Parkland is it's like kind of divided by major geographic things, right? So you got obviously the Everglades to your left or to the west. To the north is Boca, and you have this canal. It runs along the canal. To the south is the Sawgrass Expressway, which divides it from Coral Springs, North Coral Springs. And to the west, you have this, you have, what is this, 441. So kind of carved out perfectly here in from a geography perspective. So it's its own place for sure. When you're in Parkland, when you're leaving Parkland, it's pretty clear. For sure. Yeah. And what we were going to talk about here is the major growth that Parkland's seen over the past, call it 10 years, 15 years, right? I mean, since the Great Recession, we've seen huge changes to Parkland, massive development, right? Talk about, and there's an article on this online. It talks about the 2013 to 2020, the experience of the construction boom by some of the largest home builders in the country, right? Which is interesting. And John, you and I were talking about this before we jumped on. But what was interesting is GL Homes wasn't in that mix, right?
No, when does that ever happen down here?
Yeah. So it's kind of unique. It's kind of interesting. But you had Toll Brothers, Lennar. We recently had Ryan Homes. There's a number of others that have been in the mix in here. Standard Pacific, WCI Communities, which is acquired by Lennar in 2017. So you had major master plan communities go up, and we can talk about a few of them. But the demand for housing in Parkland has been huge for a number of reasons. Barry just said here, Parkland is beautiful and quiet. And it's so true. So what's interesting, if you're in Parkland, and we've sold a lot of homes, we work in Parkland a lot. What we've found is, the new construction, those lots are smaller, but if you're looking for something a little larger, with a little bit more land, you can go for that, that 90s, 80s, even 60s, 70s, if there is some of that there, build construction years, and you'll get like a much larger lot, but you won't have that incredible, like epic new home, because there's a lot of 2015 to 2025 construction that's awesome, and you can't find that as easily in Boca Raton, as an example. So that's one of the advantages that Parkland has overall. And again, it's because all these major home builders have built stuff, and the communities are pretty epic from the perspective of they have tons of amenities, big lakes, so lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of golf courses going on there.
Yeah. In some cases, they built on the golf courses and repurposed them, which is kind of neat too. So they put in more homes in a space, but yeah.
Wherever there's space, right? We're going to fit a house there on the course.
One of the first projects I think that went in there in like the 90s to the 2000 era was Heron Bay. And this was a huge master plan community in the area. In fact, Heron Bay is part in Parkland. I think part of its address is in Coral Springs, which is kind of unique, right?
Right.
So that's quite interesting. But that was like the first entrance into building in Parkland, and then from there we saw things take off in the 90s and the 2000s, and then 2010 to 2020 was just bananas. So
gotcha. So yeah. Before we delve a little deeper into some of these new developments in Parkland, just wanted to remind everyone that next weekend you have the City of Parkland's annual Family Fun Fest. That will be at the Equestrian Center at 8350 Ranch Road in Parkland. It's $35 in advance, $40 at the gate. So you have 3-day rides. You can get those for $80. Food, games, and rides will be cash only, and an on-site ATM will be available. So don't worry about it, Larry, if you're not carrying any cash on you. Wristbands are non-refundable, and there are no rain checks or returns. So, you got to take risks, gamble a little bit. Hopefully it'll stay clear. But if you want to check out the Family Fun Fest, here is your chance. It will be run from January 10th, that's a Friday, through Sunday, January 12th, from 5 to 10 on Friday, and Saturday from noon to 10, and Sunday from noon to 6. So I'll see you there, Larry.
We'll be there, maybe.
All right, so let's get into the development projects now. As you were mentioning a little bit with Heron Bay, we have the Saltgrass at Heron Bay, which is a single-family development by the Toll Brothers, located at south of Bay Cove and east of Old Brook and Heron Bay. According to the records, site cost of $18 million, 21 acres of the permanently closed Heron Bay Golf Course. And this one is supposed to break ground right around September of this year, now that we're in 2025. Larry, have you heard anything about this project so far?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting because it's a fair amount of homes, 52 homes kind of tucked in this community right here in between Heron Bay's golf course. As I was mentioning earlier, like it seems like some of these golf courses aren't say this, they built more golf courses than they need, right? And so I think we've seen this a number of times where builders are now buying back the golf courses and building up on them. So here we go, Toll Brothers getting it done right in the Heron Bay community, which was that original community or one of the early communities that built the major master plan here, right? And so kind of interesting, right? $18 million they paid for this, I think, right?
I mean, that actually seems like a pretty good deal considering what they'll charge for these homes and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine, according to the records here, they say you get 2-story models over 3,000 square feet, 2-car garage. I mean, again, just with the nicer new construction homes, especially out west in western parts of the county, those are always very nice. But you brought up an interesting point just then. You said developers are buying back the golf courses. Have you seen this happening more? Has this been an ongoing trend?
We've seen this in Boca. In fact, you and I talked about a community, the BTR, the build to rent. Remember that community?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Where did we see that? That's up this way in Boca, right in between, around Palmetto and Camino, where they've developed a number of homes in that area because they bought back that golf course that wasn't in operation. And even so, right now, some of the other communities that we know, they're talking about selling or selling off the golf courses. I'd say there's probably like 3 or 4 in Boca that over the past few years that have transacted or are considering or they're trying to for development purposes. Kind of nuts, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess I wonder what goes into that decision. Just they kind of like, well, we're out of land. We got to think of a way to make more money. I know. I mean, nobody's really playing golf here, right? Let's build some houses.
Yeah, I think just when they can't afford to continue to maintain it because the membership level's not high enough or something of that nature, or there's not enough people playing, it becomes a consideration. So that's kind of interesting. But 52 homes for 1.5 to $2 million each, and 3,000 square foot homes, and they're supposed to start building here this year, 2025, and it's about 21 acres of what they call the permanently closed Heron Bay Golf Course. So they've already closed this thing. This thing's toast. It's gone. And I get that this is in a country club, right? That Heron Bay isn't a country club per se. And so they're not, a lot of the country clubs are obviously maintaining their golf courses, but these communities that are like not entirely membership equity based and have fees and all these other things associated with it, it seems like they're struggling to keep it. While we're talking about just Parkland as a whole, I wanted to make this comment earlier, a distinction. Like if you are an investor looking to buy I don't know, multifamily or some other types of stuff in Parkland, it's not really a thing, right? This again, because this has been a recent development community, and most of this, like the duplexes and the big apartment buildings, a lot of that stuff isn't really here because it's a single family home master planned community, like, and just a bunch of these guys all spread together. You can zoom in on each one and you just see master plan community next to the next master plan community, next to the next one, next one, next one. I mean, you literally, just like scroll around, right? It's wild. It's just very different. It's different from other parts of, or other cities. Like, and then you go south of Sawgrass, and yeah, there's a lot of master plan communities, but there's also multifamily properties. There's commercial projects, right? There's all these things. I mean, don't get me wrong, Parkland has like retail and other things, but it doesn't have like these massive old industrial complexes or any of that stuff. It has simply retail, like Publix and good restaurants and a little downtown. I mean, the closest thing you have to that, right? Here's Walmart, and it's literally, I think it might be not considered Parkland. Let's see. Yeah, it's not in Parkland. You see, like, it's right on the line. Parkland was like, nope.
We're gonna pass that off to Coral Springs.
You have that Coral Springs. So it's kind of wild. It's so crazy, right?
Which I guess I mean, I don't want to assume anything here, but I'd imagine before we had these planned communities, I guess there was nothing there. I guess that was once upon a time when it was undeveloped area.
Yeah, that's kind of why they named it Parkland, because it was just a lot of land, and you still have some of it in the, like, you have like farmland, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is interesting.
Kind of neat. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you could see the difference in lot size. See these lots here compared to like those lots here.
Yeah.
Right. This is the older communities. These are the newer communities. You can see them like very easily, very clear. Like the lot sizes have changed dramatically as the amount of demand for people, from people to buy in this area has increased. They just continue to shrink those lot sizes. 8,000 square foot lots, 7,500 square foot lots. Some of them are 0 lot lines. Not all of them. I'm not saying that's what goes on here. You can tell usually if it's a 0 lot line. It's not. Not all of these are 0 lot lines. But yeah. Okay. So that's the Saltgrass at Heron Bay, which is an interesting, turn of events for Heron Bay, and these are some expensive homes. I think this is only positive for Heron Bay, frankly. I know they got some construction, and like these guys here might be losing some of their, view, but I'm sure they're going to try to preserve that.
A golf course that no one's using.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
2028 is the completion date of that project, supposedly. So we got a little ways to go there. They're taking their time. Historically, what I've heard and seen a little bit of, Toll Brothers, unlike like GL Homes pumps them out, right? They get it done. Toll Brothers tends to take their time a little bit more, which is interesting.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Any theories?
No. I was talking to one of the developers at GL the other day, and we were talking about that because there's a new GL community in Boca that one of my clients is looking at versus the GL community, Lotus Edge. And we were just talking about that, and we were talking about how GL's like about 2 months ahead of schedule for deliveries on most of their stuff, and they pretty much always hit their target when they tell you they're building on that date. They have right now, they're pretty much hitting that target. Somebody can challenge that. I bet you there's somebody out there with a bad experience, but that's what I've seen and been told more recently. And so, and we were talking about, how Toll Brothers may be a little slower, maybe not always on point, and just as far as like delivery date. I'm not talking smack about them at all. I haven't, but yeah, that's I don't have a reason. I just think they're smaller communities. That they're building usually. So it's just maybe a little bit of a different dynamic. That's all within the company. So
I got you.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move it along. Now we have Parkland Royale, which is in its second phase, or phase 2, located at 15990 Loxahatchee Road. These are single-family homes developed by Lennar. You can find it at the northwest corner of Parkland, roughly 2 miles west of Nob Hill Road. This one's site cost is a reported $52.5 million, 74.9 acres. Larry, what do you know about Parkland Royale?
Well, check out the map. Here's where it is, right? One of the last parcels to build on. In all the way out west, right? I mean, you can't get any further. So, they did you just say this? I was looking this up, but $52 million they paid for this dirt, right?
75 acres, just under.
Yeah, 75 acres, 205 single family homes in process. Here's and again, Lennar. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty big project here. Overall.
Yeah, no, I mean, it truly is just one big suburbia and master plan communities. It's almost like unique just for that reason.
Yeah, totally. And like everything feels, and after you just mentioned the shooting and all that, but like everything feels super safe, super clean. Like,
yeah, I've never heard a bad word about it aside from, the obvious thing.
Pristine in Parkland. And that's kind of what you get. Even these, like even the shopping, the retail stores and everything just feels super pristine there. The thing about, I'll comment on this, usually the differentiator for clients that are moving to the area when they're thinking about Parkland, Boca, I don't know, Weston, different areas that have relatively highly ranked schools, which Parkland does, and is proximity to either the beach or work. And they typically think about, okay, what does that look like drive time wise? And to get to the beach, if you're all the way out here, it's a bit of a journey, 30 minutes or more, you can be 45 minutes from the beach in some cases, but 30 minutes is fair. Right. And so that's something to keep in mind. Whereas like somebody might be coming to Florida because they believe in the beaches as like that. That's the thing. That's why they're there. So they may choose to have maybe a more expensive home or a similar home or a similar priced home that's older, not as new. So it's usually choosing the quality of the home you want, like new construction, 2015, 2020 versus location, right? Or proximity to the beach. So that's been a factor. So like up here is definitely a consideration. The distance to get to things. I mean, you're cruising down this road right here, and it's pretty wild. It's kind of far. Again, I'm talking shit here, but it's my opinion. It is
a little farther though. Although it at least you have the convenience of Sawgrass Expressway that seems to be sort of the main vein to outlet you to the rest of the area. Yeah, no, but right, like you said, and as we've talked about many times, I mean, for people who aren't familiar with the dynamics of South Florida, it seems like you want the bigger home for the price of something comparable on the east side. I mean, you could pay less to live west; you're just farther from the beach.
So it's 10 minutes to Sawgrass from there, right? Which is kind of interesting. And then if you instead, hold on, let's do this. I thought I was going to be slick here. All right. There we go. 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes at 7:00 at night. So yeah. Yep.
For some people, that's tolerable. I mean, I'd be okay with 30 minutes. It just all depends on what you're going for.
You live 4 minutes. You can walk to the beach right now, John.
I know I can, but but I'm not, I'm not married with kids either. So
true that.
It kind of, you gotta, pick your poison. I know you did. Pick your poison, and I like living right by the beach. That's just me.
That's it. That's it.
All right, moving along to the sister build, if you will. Yeah, not really, but not to be confused with Mar-a-Lago. We have Mir-a-Lago at Parkland, which is developed by Lennar. You can find this at 8955 Mir-a-Lago Drive. I don't know a lot else, at least in terms of the details that are listed. Larry, what do you know about Mar-a-Lago at Parkland?
Mar-a-Lago right here on the map. Let me show you. Okay, so this is Mar-a-Lago. So kind of up along that road, but a little bit more efficiently placed, in my opinion. Within distance to 441 and all that stuff, or at least quicker access. But yeah, here it is. And like I said, look at how big the water is.
Yeah.
You get imagine, having this home right here. I mean, you have huge water views, which is pretty epic. Any of these homes on these points are
the water is so big that when you zoomed in there, I anticipated seeing boats docked against the houses.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So this is a massive lake. So this is cool. You see that a lot. You see smaller lakes too, but look at this one. This is a huge lake and they just put homes all around it, which is wild. And again, this is, other communities would probably have much more homes maybe squished into this.
That's what I'm saying. Are they going to dry it up and stick in more houses? It's like we don't have any more golf courses to buy back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Part of the rules, or whatever you want to call it, the zoning requirements here is making this happen. Like, look at this guy. Look how big this.
Yeah,
lake
that was one of the ones that stood out to me when I was first kind of looking over Parkland on the map.
Here. Huge boys. So these are all done communities. Like, they're in resale mode. Mar-a-Lago, we're joking about it being a sister community. But Lennar built this, right? 738 homes, up to 4,200 square feet. You can get a home up to 5 bedrooms, as low as 3 bedrooms. These were built around 2015, 2016. And initially they were selling for $350,000 to $682,000, and that is not what they sell for today.
I was gonna say, I'm like, that's actually a pretty good deal, all things considered.
Yeah. So, and what's cool about this community? Check out these amenities, because I was just over here with another client, but they have great amenities. These like huge pool. They got stuff for the kids. Tennis, if you're into tennis, basketball, and obviously I bet you some of these are now set up for pickleball. I can't remember. I think they were when I was there last. I think they're doing an update of some sort over here, believe it or not, already. It's 10 years old, but still. So yeah. And then, so we were in between these two communities here. Well, they're the same. So they share these amenities, which is cool. So if you're on this side, you can access this, but you can also come over here and access this. And it's got really cool little small soccer setup here. There was a playground thing. Yeah, there's like a playground thing here and here. Lots of stuff going on. The amenities in the building are great. There's like ping pong in one of these rooms. And it's crazy. Sometimes our clients reach out to us and say, hey, I'm looking for somewhere to have like a very social experience. So I want to move into like a community like this, and I want to be able to mingle at the clubhouse and stuff like that. But I'll just be like, let people know early on that it almost feels like there's not many people ever at the clubhouse at these things. The clubhouses are big, and for sure you can link up with people and play tennis and stuff like that. So it's not like there's nobody there, but it's not like this like bustling clubhouse area where everybody's there getting drinks, whatever. That's not really what I've experienced personally. Even I've been there weekdays, weekends, every which way. So some coaching for somebody who's looking to buy in the area and thinking that's like the social experience for being in one of these communities is going to be like really incredible. It's going to be mediocre, is my opinion. Like, you can still meet with people and engage people there and go play with people in the community if you're social, but it's not like a country club community where there's just everybody for lunch and dinner. You're seeing people eat there. You're seeing like a ton of action. It's not like that, because the country club people, they're paying for that, like a lot of money.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Using it, and that's the amenity. So anyway.
So in other words, Mar-a-Lago isn't like Mar-a-Lago in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. A little different. Yeah.
All right. So next up, we have Osprey Lake, which is a single family community developed by WCI Communities Incorporated, which, for those who haven't kept up, they're now owned by Lennar. This one was listed as 109 single family 1 and 2 story homes. You have 6 layouts to choose from. Let's say another planned community. Aside from that, Larry, what do you know about this place?
Here it is on the map for everyone's reference. Again, we're just going to be talking about master plan community after master plan community, because in our other city tours, right, we're talking about this new huge apartment building, this mixed use office building,
a lot of mixed use, everything,
skyscraper. There's no like real huge mixed use projects going on in this area, really. One of the interesting things I was reviewing here, I'll go to Wiki real quick. It's kind of funny, before we were about to jump on, was, where is it? In 2020, there's about 34,000 people in Parkland, which to me is like not a lot of people at all.
No, I mean,
relative to what, like Boca's like 100 or something. We're like in that like 80 to 120 range, most of these other cities, right? And Parkland's got 34,000 for the 2020 census, which is pretty interesting. Now, I bet it's more than that now. That would be my bet. Also, kind of interesting, according to a 2016 estimate, the median income for households in the city was 131,000, which is substantially higher than most of the other cities.
Yeah.
In the area.
I mean, again, it's like, I'm picturing in my head, nice upper class families living in a place like that.
Yeah.
In the traditional suburban sense, just everything I was looking at, that is the feel I get from looking at Parkland.
What also interesting, just to support that statement again, about 2% of families, 4% of the population were below the poverty line. So pretty interesting. Just like very low numbers, again, as we would expect from being in Parkland. There's not too much else besides these, like, I don't know, call it $700,000+ homes, as high as 2 million, right? 3 million. So obviously there's higher than that in some areas, but that's just the majority. So
I don't think there's anywhere to be poor in Parkland from the
right. It's like,
where would you go?
You're wandering.
Walmart's in Coral Springs. I don't know where you're gonna go.
Yeah, that's where you go. You go to Coral Springs. If you're poor, because like it's just like where, like, you just go walk down these major roads. Nob Hill's like not fun to be on if you're poor, walking the streets homeless.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, which are these communities gated? I mean,
almost all these communities are gated. Okay. There's very few that aren't gated for the most part. There are some, but it's not. It's more common that when we're showing property in Parkland, we're working our way through gates and all that stuff. Yeah.
Wow. So it is master plan the whole way through.
This project though was completed in 2016. So again, talking about that like huge growth where they added about 1,500+ homes to the area in between 2013 and 2020. This was a part of that huge development play during that time. So
wow. Okay. So I see this one also has 2 clubhouses, fitness centers, swimming pools. Boy, they. I guess, do all of these essentially have a clubhouse to them? I mean,
for the most part.
It fits the formula. I still find it interesting.
What's interesting? We were looking at that project in Boca, that Toll Brothers project. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they don't have a real clubhouse, and that's a new construction. And but it's like a 50 single family home build. But for the most part, this is like a smaller build. I think they also played off of some of the other communities and share. See, it's the Heron Bay Master Association. So this build was a complement of all these other communities. Yeah, thanks for sharing. So these guys, this 109 build community was an add-on, and they share this amenity here. So. But usually for a smaller community like this, you're not getting, for a smaller build, you're not getting this many amenities. So they're all, a lot of them are very similar. Like I don't say they're all the same. Some are better than others, but to me, like a lot of them feel the same. You've seen one, you got a decent sense of what the others are going to be. Different age, maybe a few extra things here and there, maybe a little bit more updated one way or the other, depending on the year built. But yeah,
I gotcha. Okay, so. It's funny. realizing we're in a new year when you were referencing some of these places that were built in 2015. You're saying it's 10 years ago. I'm like, wait a minute, is that? Oh, wow, it's been 10 years. Okay. Man. So moving along. I mean, I'm just saying, moving along. We have Cascada at Mira-Lago, not to be confused with the original Mira-Lago. This one is also developed by Lennar. They seem to really have their hooks on this community.
Lennar in Parkland is like GL and Boca, right? Boca and Delray. That's what it feels like, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're all over this. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
It's located at Nob Hill Road between County Line and Loxahatchee Roads. This is a huge community.
So this is like this is why I was saying Mira-Lago, they share the community, right? So you can see that we were just talking about this Mira-Lago.
Oh, right.
The other. So similar. So just huge. Another just massive development. And again, I like these amenities were pretty good. I was here, I don't know, weeks ago with a client. So we were cruising around looking at these, and I was after we did a grand tour of Parkland, he ended up doing something in here. So yeah.
575 single family homes, 16 layouts to choose from. Yeah, that is a lot of houses.
Yeah, and they all, again, like it's like coming from Boca and looking at, spending a lot of time in Boca. This is the quality of the house. It's just newer, higher ceilings in most cases. You're just getting more for your buck out here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's cheap by any means. Don't get me wrong. Parkland is expensive, and it's like a higher, as we just mentioned, it's a higher class city for sure. But you're just getting newer and more for your money because you're a little further west, and you just have a lot more newer stuff. That's just what it is. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So next up we have Watercrest at Parkland. I guess this one's also known as the Wedge. Are you familiar with the Wedge, Larry?
Yeah, what's cool about this is here, check this out. Like when you're hanging out by the pool, you can walk on this pier. So again, this is one of the ones I just was in weeks ago, doing the grand tour. And so, I mean, you got this epic lake view, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, again, I would have pictured those houses as you zoom in, having boats, docked up against the house, but they don't. I'm like, you got this huge thing. And like, what? I guess maybe people go paddle boating or something on that. Right?
Definitely no motorboats in there. And I don't know if people are like, shallow. It's very few people are in that, if any, in these lakes. Cause like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone there. I'm not sure if you're allowed. But in some cases you are, in other communities we've been in. So I don't know if you're on a little paddle board. I think that I don't know how interesting that is to paddleboard out there. So yeah,
right. I don't see a whole lot going on there. But again, it's just when you see a big body of water. I mean, I just picture a Florida man out there doing something.
Florida man's not allowed in Parkland. That's the rules.
Oh man. Oh, that's right. They're gated communities. Excuse me.
Yeah. That's not where Florida man hangs out. But these were built in 2018. And this is a 150 acre lake. Right. Huge. That's cool.
Again, so I know there's a lot of specifics to it, but the bodies of water to a certain extent are required by law when you're putting together some of these developments, because I mean, that just seems like a particularly large one.
I think it's zoning requirements about open space and when they, and what they can negotiate as far as density goes. And so when they can't, they may, maybe they need certain drainage, and maybe drainage rules are changing too as more stuff is built in these areas.
Right.
So like maybe these newer ones needed much more water, So
yeah, I got you.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So keeping it moving along here, we have Sawgrass Bay at Heron Bay on the Bay. This was another one that was developed by WCI, which is now owned by Lennar, as Lennar seems to have developed everything in Parkland. That Larry, what do you know about Sawgrass Bay?
It's connected to the big Heron project here, Heron Bay. Okay. So it's all up in here. So yeah, again, like we were talking about this community right here that was connected to the Heron Bay Master Association. This is as well another project. Lennar, owns WCI Communities. He was the one that built that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, this was an 81 single family home project. A lot of water views, just like Parkland offers in most cases, which is interesting. And it's just. And again, they're building this golf course hasn't been operational, and that's really it. This was a 2015 project, I believe, right?
Yeah, which again, going back to the fact that just 10 years ago, I'm picturing like a war zone of construction that is now Parkland. You know what I mean? Because like every single one of these communities we're talking about have all been seemingly within the last decade, and it's like, wow.
They've come up out of so much. Coming out of the Great Recession, this place changed so much. Mm-hmm. It's wild. So, and speaking of that, you have Four Seasons. I'll show you this one, which I was in recently, as well. And this is the most. I don't want to say it's the most recent one, but it's the most recent one from my perspective. Yeah. Okay. Sold out as of June 2024. So like. Pretty much, I think it was a year ago I was in there bouncing around with clients, talking to the developer, the salespeople for the developer, and now this is pretty much all in resale mode. This is a great 55 and up community. I highly encourage people to go check this one out if they're looking for 55 and up. It's usually one of the communities I recommend checking out. There's another one by Ryan Homes, which is just east down this way. We'll talk about that in a minute, but this one's great. It's great.
I was going to say that seems to be Kay Hovnian's bread and butter are the 55 and up communities, at least.
Yeah, I think so.
From what I've seen.
Yeah, same here. And this one's 538 homes, and the amenities within this in here is pretty cool. And this is more, I would argue, there's more action in this community at the clubhouse than some of these other communities. Just for whatever it's worth. You got people playing cards. There's obviously they got the fitness center, they got billiards, ping pong, all this stuff. You got some families that are there, spending time, hanging out, enjoying the pool area and all that good stuff.
Visiting at the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. We were looking at a home when I was last there that backed up to the parking lot, and it was under construction. And it was great. I watched these go up. I was in them as they were building them. I feel like it's good product overall. Almost all of them. I think all of them one story, as you might expect from a 55 and up community.
Yeah.
Mostly 3 bedrooms. They have 2-bedroom units in here or a single family homes there. So yeah. And you can get them as big as 3,600 square feet. And there were a lot of floor plans from my perspective. There was, 10 plus floor plans. Yeah.
Which their websites, you can always, they do a good job of giving you
it's great.
All the options. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So, single story, 3,600 square feet. That's pretty nice.
This is interesting. James just commented, I didn't realize there was so many communities there. I always thought of Parkland as mostly rural, non-HOA land. I often compare it to the acreage or Loxahatchee. Yeah, very different now, right? Just like this is not 20 years ago, Parkland, when I first came to the area, for sure. Parkland, I didn't even know Parkland existed when I came to the area. It was like nothing to me. And now it's like we're helping so many customers in this location. So, which is great.
Because especially as we're kind of looking through what else is located in the Parkland area, looking at the dining experience, there seem to be plenty of options to choose from here. As we compiled a list, you have the Bluefin Sushi Thai Grill. I know Larry is a huge fan of Thai and Japanese cuisine, and they have plenty of it there with sushi rolls, sashimi, and Thai dishes. The restaurant is known for its modern interpretation of classic dishes and its insistence on only using high-quality fresh ingredients.
So I've been here.
They got it right out of one of those big lakes.
Yeah, that's where they're
as fresh as you can get.
They're pulling it out of the lakes, and yeah, real fresh.
Mhm.
I thought it was fresh when I was there. I thought it was fresh. Yeah, I've actually been here with a client for closing dinner, and they love this. They loved it. I didn't know anything about it until they brought me there, and yeah, man, good. I highly recommend if you're looking.
It's
for
what
sushi.
closed the deal, huh?
Yeah, it closed the deal. The deal was closed. We were celebrating,
Oh, all right.
so we
Just making
went.
sure.
We went ham. We got all the sushi. No ham. We
Oh,
went
wow.
sushi. Yeah.
All right. So we also have, if you're more like me, more of the traditional Italian American cuisines, we have the Pizza Time Cafe, a family-friendly Italian restaurant that specializes in hand-tossed stone-baked pizza. Nothing wrong with that. They also offer a variety of Italian dishes like pasta, lasagna, tiramisu. The restaurant has a cozy atmosphere, making it a great place for family dinners or casual hangouts. You can find that one at 6620 Parkside Drive. So again, don't worry, you need your Italian fix. You got options.
Yeah, look at this. All right, they got buffalo wings too.
Good. Right. They got
stuff.
I mean, you gotta have buffalo wings. My goodness.
What is that? Minestrone? No, that's pasta fagioli. I don't know. What is that? Let's see. Yeah, this is good. Look at this. Chicken piccata. My man. They got some cannolis. All right. That's what I'm talking about.
It's so funny how we're like it's such the mercy now. If it's any place you haven't been, I mean, the people who put it up on the Google Photos or whatever, when you do a search, I mean,
that's the answer.
That's your outlet. And when you look up more places, at least restaurants have kind of wised up to that, and they'll put up some of their own stuff. Thank goodness, because
we work on that. Yeah, I mean, this is great. Yeah, this is so you kind of get a sense of what the vibe is here. Yeah.
Kind of getting hungry looking at that.
All right, chicken parm, man. We got to get off this call so we can eat some food, John.
Absolutely. But before then, we also need to mention the Deja Blue restaurant, which offers a unique blend of Mediterranean cuisine in a relaxed bar setting. The menu features a variety of dishes from different Mediterranean regions, including Greek, Italian, and Middle Eastern cuisine. The restaurant also has an extensive wine list, making it a perfect spot for a romantic dinner or a night out with friends. Duly noted.
And I just learned it was permanently closed. So go enjoy that. It looked very cool.
It had a cool name.
It was very cool. It was on the water. It was neat. Look at this. Look at how sweet this is. Look at this. How come they closed?
I don't know, but I feel like I just let everybody down here.
You did. That was depressing. That was really messed up.
And, let's get away from the restaurants now. We also have some outdoor activities you can mention that are in Parkland. You have the Pine Trails Park, which is a 77-acre park featuring playgrounds, picnic areas, sports fields, walking trails, and the Parkland Amphitheater, which hosts community events and concerts. So if you're going to rock out, do it at the Pine Trails Park. What's up?
The amphitheater is kind of cool. That's what it looks like.
Oh, that looks nice.
Checking it out. Yeah, kind of neat.
Really, you've been to a lot of shows at the Pine Trails Park,
the
Parkland Amphitheater. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you can't have a huge suburban community without a lot of sports fields.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks nice. All right. So we also have the Florida Terramar Park, which also offers sports fields, basketball courts, playgrounds, a scenic walking path, and a fishing pier, providing a peaceful environment for various activities. You can find that one at 6575 Northwest 76th Drive in Parkland. So again, you're taking your kids to soccer practice. It's everything I imagined in suburban life. And I don't mean that as, an insult or anything. I'm just saying it's like, if that's what you're going for, here it is.
I feel like maybe unpopular take if people are into Parkland. I feel like while there are a fair amount of parks in Parkland, other cities have more. And so that's my unpopular take.
But I guess, the good news is you don't necessarily have to go that far out of the way to, check some of them out. It's like I don't have to go up to Boca for soccer practice if I'm in Parkland or something. At least it's there.
I guess my comment is like
quit tearing them down, Larry.
The parks in Boca have like a little bit more nature in some cases, and there's like and like you can get to like Murakami, which is kind of unique, and like and like the beach parks are a little bit more unique. And then so I don't know. Now I'm like talking.
Sugar Sand's really nice. That's a very nice park.
Sugar Sand. Yeah. So while here the parks are very much so very focused on like just sports fields, and I get that because that's what you're going to use mostly, right? So you got a lot of that going on here. Yeah. So
Got a weeknight softball game, us older folks or whatever you're into, your pickleball, your tennis. It's nice that, and that it seems like some of them are publicly available, because again, you said so many of these master plan communities are all gated. It's like, where would I get my pickleball fix, Larry? Huh? What am I going to do?
So, I guarantee you in Parkland, I don't know this for a fact, but in Boca, it's a big thing. Like each community has a team and they play against the other
I believe it.
communities.
I've seen bocce ball teams, man. They take that serious.
Oh, no joke. I was talking to somebody who plays 6 times a week just so he could be in level 1 because there's like varsity, junior varsity, freshman level squads that go out and compete in these, and not just country clubs, but like just gated communities. This is a thing. It gets intense. Yeah, you gotta rep your hood.
All right. Larry, anything else you would like to add about the amazing Floridian suburbia that is Parkland, Florida, before we check out here?
That's it. I'm getting some sushi and some pasta.
That does sound very good. The pasta, anyway.
Yeah.
All right. For Larry Mastropieri, I'm John Laws. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.
See you guys.